Good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Lorenzo for the brilliant introduction, the political introduction. Then I would like to say thank you to the professor that worked on the legal proposal that we tabled to the Commission, so in particular Professor Roberto Mastroianni, Professor Peggy Valche, and Peter Monna, that is in this room. It's to the crucial contribution that we were able to table our proposal. And then I'd like to explain you why we decided, and was for us a priority, to invest our time and our work in a citizen initiative. It's not by chance that the two initiators, so Lorenzo and me, are two Italians, because actually, unfortunately, the problem and the fight between, in some cases, we have to say, a fight between the European Parliament and the Commission started with the Italian case. So started with this anomaly, so where a Prime Minister, Berlusconi, was in the same time Prime Minister and the owner of more than half of the media empire in Italy. So that was the reason why European Union started to face with the problem of media pluralism and independence of media. And this confrontation, you can say, started in 2004 with the famous Boger report on the media pluralism in Europe and in particular in Italy. That was a big political result that they were able to put in the title, of course, that the main problem was in Italy. Of course, in that case, the answer of the Commission, and until now the answer of the Commission is, we are sorry, it's not our competence. And that's the main reason why we started thinking about a citizen initiative, of course, after the Lisbon Treaty, so where, of course, this tool was available. Then, of course, in these years, the Commission and the Union, they tried to give some answer to the problem. So in particular, in 2007, of course, the Commission worked out the famous three-steps approach. So the Commission asked to realize a monitor to see the risk of lack of media pluralism in member states. The strategy was presented in 2007. The media monitor was ready in 2009, the end of that commission. Of course, from there, of course, nothing moved. Of course, the excuse at the beginning from the commission was, we are sorry, at the moment there is a new commission, so we have to wait that the new commission decide what to do with this monitor. After 1 year, the official answer was, we are really sorry now, but in 2007 the situation of media was in a specific way. Now, 3 years later, the landscape, the media ecosystem is completely different. Now there is a strong digitalization. So we are sorry, but the monitor is not anymore, we can say, performing. So we have to think about to change the monitor and to change the strategy. Of course, in this time, then other problems came out. So European Union had to face the Hungarian problem. And of course, in this case, the Parliament, civil society, they started to push pressure on the European Union to say, you cannot admit that this situation can happen again in Europe. So the Commission tried also other solutions, as in 2011 with the high-level group and the report of this year, so the beginning of this year, and the Center of Media Pluralism in Florence, with two main tasks. The first one was a study on analyzing actually the possible competence in defending media pluralism in Europe, from one side, and from the other side, imagine to reform the monitor, and so the possibility to use at the end the monitor. And now what they are doing in this period is exactly this one. So after the study, and the study was absolutely in line with our proposal. So at the end, also they showed to the Commission that they have competence in defending media pluralism. And from the other side, of course, to imagine, to use tools to defend the media pluralism, of course, we have started to measure the level of the risk of lack of media pluralism in a member states. So that was more or less the fight between European citizens, so represented by the Parliament in some way, and the Commission. The Commission, of course, linked to the Council and to member states and government that they don't want to be checked, they don't want to be controlled by European institutions. So we are convinced that in this moment, European initiative is so important because it's another element, it's another important element of pressure on the Commission. So this year also we had the adoption of the Weber report on also media pluralism, and also in that report the European Parliament clearly asked the Commission to intervene and of course to work out a directive, so the tools to are able to intervene in a member states where there is a problem of media pluralism and independence of media. So as I said at the beginning, I think it's crucial in this moment to use all the tools, all the possible influence that we have to civil society, to public opinion, to push the Union to move on, to act in a performing way to protect these important and crucial rights for the European citizen. Thank you very much.
Well, I tried to mention in the morning that our European Citizens Initiative has a vision, which means, or an ideology, that we do not try to fight against the European institutions and the European elites, but we think that we are in alliance with many politicians, officials and experts, legal experts and others. And I'm just wondering whether actually Lorenzo and Giovanni, you agree with this idea. We never discussed it so deeply. But I mean, in case the European Commission has changed a little bit its attitude to the media situation in the member states in general, as both of you talked about it, especially Joe. And there are arguments regarding the competence of the European Union, and even the economic situation shows that there is a need for more media pluralism. So can we really trust in our initiative that it might be successful, even if we know that the Commission approved the initiative, but that's the first step. But what comes next? Certainly we know that some European politicians really support our initiative, like Martin Schulz, who signed it, or you mentioned Renate Weber's report, where I remember she explicitly speaks about our initiative. So I just would like to ask you whether these are just realistic hopes, or at the end something might happen which at the end will ruin our hopes when we get there at all.
Yes, so and it's also a follow-up on the end of the other session, because it seems it's part of the issue is that whether we see the European Union as a structure where we can and should move towards establishing some federalist rules to safeguard fundamental values like freedom of the press, or we don't see it that way. And I think we should do that, and obviously our initiative does that. And so my question related to that is that, and it's related to István's question as well, that we know that the European Commission proposed in the draft of the Audiovisual Media Services Directive some sort of mandatory rule to safeguard the sufficient independence of the media of the media bodies, the media councils in the member states, and it didn't go through. So I wonder whether in your what was the reason for it in your view? Was it that some influential member states wanted to keep it for a national decision-making process, or worse, some member states, influential member states, so that they better keep their control? And if the second, then it's unfortunately hypocritical to criticize the Hungarian government, although of course the Hungarian government deserves full criticism of how it controls the media council. So I wonder, how do you see those strange developments in the European Union that sort of, in my view, and I close with this, turned the Audiovisual Media Services Directive into a kind of a disaster, because while the directive was explained, extended the scope of the Common European Media Regulation in terms of content, regulating content, at the same time it failed to include what the Commission proposed, rules that would safeguard that the bodies that implement the extended regulation of content should be certainly independent enough when they do that. Thanks.
Thank you. And William?
Thank you. I'd like to ask about the connection between media pluralism and media freedom. It struck me that Mr. Melogli spoke about the centre in Florence as the centre for media pluralism, and he didn't actually say media freedom. This, I think, was quite significant, because I observed that most of the focus has been on media pluralism. Some would say this is in danger of being a cop-out, an escape. It is easier to talk about media pluralism than media freedom. It's easier for the European Commission to listen as well. But I'd perhaps ask you or your Italian colleague, actually I think you, Mr. Melogli, actually began by saying that the Citizens' Initiative started in Italy because of the problems of media concentration, so perhaps you'd like to say what is the connection between the concentration of media in the Italian case or others and the impact on media freedom. And since Elder has done the study about competencies, it's not a trick question, but it's a tricky question. Perhaps you'd like to make a comment.
Much. I start with Istvan, and then maybe just I use some harsh word as a fight between the European Parliament and Commission. Maybe it was too much, but it's true that we assist a confrontation in any case between the two institutions. Of course, we behind the stage, the council, of course, the government that was in some case, like in the case of the monitor, quite worried about, for example, the use of the monitor, like the Italian government. That was known. So, of course, we are working with the institution. We are asking the support of the Commission to go on. We work with the Parliament, in particular, as the only democratic institution of the European Union, so the European Parliament representing all the European citizens. And I'm persuaded that we are on the right direction, the right way, the good path actually to achieve the result. I think also work with the Parliament is one of the key factors to achieve the final result of 1 million citizens. About the question of the Audiovisual Media Service Directive and why they don't go more far with the independence of the authority. Actually, I was there. I worked for 1 year on the on the directive in 2006, and clearly there was not a political will to go on. We tried to put some elements to protect media freedom and pluralism, but was impossible because, of course, already in the parliament it was blocked because they know that then in the council not these kind of elements had the possibility to pass. Of course, also the parliament was we can say, censoring also the possibility to go far and to go in that direction. And about freedom and pluralism, sorry, I just forgot to mention all the label of the center was not. I didn't want to cut a concept, of course, linked to the center, and but of course the two elements are strongly linked. If you can speak about the Italian example of the Italian anomaly, was clear that the monopolistic almost position of Berlusconi as an owner of the public, of the private media, and then in a strong position in government, able to influence also the public media, was a strong pressure on the editorial freedom of his own journalists, and of course also in the public broadcasting of the Italian TV. So in this case, of course, historically that was a problem where politics in general influenced the public broadcasting in Italy with a party sector. So each political party was, and of course the Berlusconian anomaly, of course, create a more complex problem because actually Berlusconi already controlled the other half side. But of course, the concept of freedom and pluralism are always going together. And of course, we can also speak about independence because that's, I think, it's the most important. So, at the end, we are trying to create a frame for the independence of the journalism, the real professional of this sector.